Hey, Bruce, congratulations on the win. We want to talk about that last drive, but I have to start with, can you tell us what happened to Antonio Brown? Did he quit? I've never seen a guy leave a field like that, and is this the last strike for him?
He is no longer a Buck. All right, that's the end of the story. Let's talk about the guys that went out there and won the game.
You've ever had a day or a week like this where you're out with COVID, you're back, you have players late on a plane, you have players going off the field shirtless in the middle of the game, and then you also win on a touchdown.
Not players,
left.
One player.
One player. Sorry, Bruce, but sorry, one player.
Hey, Coach, I know you want to talk about the victory, and he is no longer part of the team, but what ultimately led to the decision for you?
I'm not talking about him. He's not a part of the Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, and thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or watch every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. I am James Yarcho, joined as always by David Harrison. You can find everything that we are doing over at bucsnation.com. Make sure you follow along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, at DHarrison82, and at Bucs_Nation.
On Sunday, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the New York Jets 28-24 in comeback fashion. Victory Monday once again for Bucs Nation. And of course, that is the top story. Not Antonio Brown stripping down on the sideline, throwing his pads, jumping off the field, like just basically begging for attention, waving to the crowd there in New Jersey. Bruce Arians, head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you heard him fielding questions from the media, answering them. I don't know about you guys, but basically the way I would expect him to answer those questions. He did tell Fox's Jay Glazer that basically what happened is he told Antonio Brown in the third quarter to go back in the game. Antonio Brown refused to go back in the game. Arians tried again later to send Antonio Brown back in the game. Antonio Brown again refused to go back in the game, so Arians told him that he was done for the day if he wasn't going to go out there and play with his teammates. Mike Evans tried to calm Antonio Brown down. O.J. Howard at one point apparently tried to calm Antonio Brown down. Obviously, none of those efforts from those gentlemen worked. AB removed his equipment, happily stopped at the jersey and the helmet and the gloves and all that, threw those to the fans. Yeah, and then Bruce Arians, as you heard after the game, talking to the media, said that Antonio Brown is no longer a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady was asked about it. Honestly, James, Tom kind of seemed or sounded just a little surprised that maybe Bruce Arians had already said that AB was no longer a member of the Buccaneers, but kind of responded the way that you'd expect Tom Brady to, especially when you consider all the things that he has done for Antonio Brown, from housing him to vouching for him. I know you have thoughts because you tweeted him as the situation was unfolding. A lot of people were tweeting as the situation was unfolding, so I'll give you the floor here, sir. Antonio Brown, let's, why not? I guess that's what we're going to do on this show, is kick off with that story, because that is what everybody's talking about. What are your thoughts on AB?
Yeah, we have to talk about it. And yep. David, if we rewind, if we rewind the clock about a year and like 4 months, and all the speculation was coming up, and I repeatedly said, I do not want Antonio Brown on this team. The Buccaneers do not need Antonio Brown. It would be foolish to sign Antonio Brown because of the baggage that he brings with him. The Bucs go ahead and sign him anyway. Brady vouches for him. Bruce Arians says, one strike, you're out. Oh. I backed off. I was like, okay, I will judge him strictly on what he does once he arrives in Tampa. So he comes to the team. He helps them win a Super Bowl. He, is a key contributor down the stretch and into the postseason, and obviously in the Super Bowl. And the Bucs re-sign him. And it's like, okay, cool. So Antonio Brown's behaved. He's been a great teammate by all accounts. He's kept himself out of trouble. Then we get into this season. He has a huge game against Miami. He gets hurt. And then the vaccination card stuff comes out. And it's like, okay, I've gone to bat for this guy. Now, one of the very first YouTube comments we had was about my stance on Antonio Brown, of how I wanted nothing to do with him. And all of a sudden I'm pumping his tires week after week after week. And a lot of listeners found it either kind of funny or they were kind of surprised by my change of heart. And now I've been made to look like a fool because I sat there and I was like, okay, I'm going to give this guy his credit. And not only that, but the way that Antonio Brown left this game and left this team, he spit in the face of Bruce Arians, who took a lot of heat for standing by him through this suspension. Yeah. People talked about, you said one strike and he's out. And he says, look, Antonio's been great with this team. He's a great teammate. He's beloved. We've given him another chance, and he's earned that. Arians took a ton of heat, both locally and nationally. He spit in the face of Tom Brady, who vouched for him. He spit in the face of Jason Light, who gave him that contract. He screwed over every teammate on that sideline because he decided to have his typical Antonio Brown temper tantrum. And if this is a mental health thing, David, I understand that he needs help.
Yeah.
But if this is just Antonio being Antonio, which all signs right now kind of point to what this is, especially with some of the videos that we've already seen go viral. He's released a rap song already on Twitter. It's disgusting. And not only did he lose his chance to potentially win another Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, I'd be shocked if he ever played in the NFL again.
Yeah, I mean, listen, going back to when he was signed, again, a lot of people had some misgivings and all those things. And it was basically billed as, giving Antonio Brown a quote unquote second chance, even though he'd already had multiple chances and all those things. And I get all that. Look, with Bruce Arians, saying that, one strike and you're out, and then the COVID vaccine thing coming up. First of all, I still think to this day, for one, the team wasn't fined, which means the team vetted all their COVID vaccinations properly, which means if he did turn in a fake vaccine card, they caught it. And I still stand by my assumption, right? Because it is an assumption. I don't have any confirmation, nor will I ever receive any confirmation, nor will I ask for confirmation, to be quite honest with you, that he turned it in. They found it. They said, hey, dummies, you can't turn these in. They're fake. Go get your vaccine or, follow the protocols for non-vaccinated players. They said, oh, crap, okay, we didn't think you'd catch it. They went and got vaccinated. So it didn't become an issue with the NFL until it became public news, which is not new for the NFL. Like, that's not a COVID thing. That's everything. Go back to any scandal pretty much in the National Football League, and you're going to find a pattern of, as long as it doesn't become public, the NFL doesn't really care. So that being said, Bruce Arians comes out later, eventually says, look, everything that he had done from the time we signed him, he's basically built up brownie points and he just spent them. Well, he spent them, and he no longer had a balance of brownie points in the Bucs bank to spend. So when he did what he did on the field there at MetLife Stadium, he exhausted his balance. He's bankrupt, and now he's gone from the team. And hopefully, behind the scenes, Tom Brady is aware of why. He understands why. I think he's been in this business long enough to understand the circumstances surrounding it. I fully support the decision. Obviously, you fully support the decision. I still kind of wonder if they're not actually going to release him, but if they're actually going to suspend him for conduct detrimental to the team for the rest of the season and keep him out of the playoffs, because again, you still have the circumstance where if you waive him, he goes through waivers. Non-playoff teams aren't going to pick him up. Nobody's going to claim him if you're not a playoff team. The only people that are going to think about picking him up at all are playoff teams. And as much as we would like to think, nobody would be, unintelligent enough to do that based off the situation. Look, guys, championships draw some things out of people, and I honestly can't look at the Green Bay Packers and say you have a Super Bowl caliber offense no matter what defense you go up against. I can't look at the Los Angeles Rams and say you couldn't benefit from a guy as talented as Antonio Brown, and I also can't look at AB and say he wouldn't put his stuff together for 5 weeks to get revenge on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So waiving him comes with a little bit of a risk as well. I would like to think that everybody would be like-minded and realize that this isn't the business for this kid. Listen, if it's a mental health thing, obviously, if people have serious mental issues, they need to get help. They need to seek help, and hopefully he's going to get that. Tom kind of alluded to that a little bit. To me, from my outside perch, it doesn't look like that. It just looks like an extremely narcissistic and selfish, self-made victim, once again playing the same tune that he has been playing. Speaking of familiar tunes, James Auld Lang Syne's recently was playing across this country and across the world because it was New Year's, and New Year's means New Year's resolutions. I'm not about resolutions, but if you are, you probably have a resolution that's somewhat similar to losing weight, getting fit. Maybe it's getting bigger. Maybe you want to cut. Maybe you want to get trim. Whatever it is, Built Bars can help you achieve all of your goals because they're protein bars, but they taste like candy bars. In some cases, like the mint brownie, actually tastes better than a lot of candy bars out there, and Built Bar is going to make it easier for you to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You're going to want to eat it. So you're not going to feel like you're just holding yourself accountable. You're actually getting a treat for something that you want to do anyway. You want to eat healthy, but sometimes eating healthy is just boring. By like the third weekend, you're saying it's not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Built Bars got you covered there because Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Most Built Bars have just 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, only 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein, while a lot of candy bars out there have around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So go to your secret stash of candy, wherever it is, the pantry, in your office, in your car, wherever it is. Throw those out, replace them with a stash of Built Bars like I have and my wife have in our refrigerator. If you're not a huge fan of working out, but you want to lose weight anyway, this can actually help you reach those goals still. So go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off. Built.com to get the best tasting protein bar you will ever try. Back now for segment 2 here at the Locked On Bucs Podcast. Thank you again, Bucs Nation, for making us your first listen or your first view every single day. We are free. We're available on all platforms. We are David Harrison and James Yarcho on Twitter at dharrison82, at jyarcho_Bucs, over at bucsnation.com, writing about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At least James is. I will eventually, once again, write for bucsnation.com. That is also on Twitter at Bucs_Nation. So, James, a game did happen. A team did win. That team was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they won, defeating the New York Jets 28-24, an outcome that was never in doubt, especially not midway through the game when the Buccaneers had their biggest deficit that they've come back from this season. What are your initial thoughts following the latest Tampa Bay Buccaneers win?
Here's my initial thoughts, and unfortunately, it's going to play back to what we just talked about in segment 1. And that's because of what we had to talk about in segment 1 that overshadows completely what an amazing job Cyril Grayson did for the Buccaneers. This is 2 weeks in a row now, David, that Cyril Grayson has finished with 81 receiving yards. In that final drive, the Bucs had to go over 90 yards in 2 minutes with no timeouts. Cyril Grayson had 5 targets, 4 catches, and the game-winning touchdown. This is after Grayson went off on Twitter, kept all the receipts from people that knocked him for not being able to catch a football. Yeah. And now, all of a sudden, he has established himself, no lie, no joke, no cap, as the kids are saying these days. He's established himself as a legitimate number 2 threat on this team because Tom Brady came out and said that he trusts him completely, and it shows on the field. And Grayson is repaying that trust with production and game-winning touchdowns. That should be the headline. That should be what we were focusing on. And instead, we have to focus on nonsense when Cyril Grayson is absolutely catching his stride and dominating for this team the last 2 weeks.
Well, fortunately, Cyril Grayson has gotten some love from Tom Brady with the media, from his head coach with the media. You dropped his name and talked about him in your Locked On Now immediately following the game. We're talking about him now in this one, and I'm sure that there are some members of Bucs Nation talking about him as well. Real quick, let's listen to one of those members of Bucs Nation that called in after this game.
What's up, guys? It's Zach in Dallas. Been a minute since I've called in. First off, almost had a heart attack. That game should have been nowhere near that close. This team's got to have a come to Jesus meeting and figure out if they want to take this thing back to the Super Bowl or not, because playing like that, not going to do it. Second thing, if Antonio Brown was still a member of this team, come tomorrow afternoon, I might just pack away my gear and be done for the year. There is zero excuse for that type of behavior, and even less excuse for acceptance of that type of behavior. We proved we didn't need him to win. He's gone. I don't care. That's what needs to happen. If he is here, I am done with this team for the year. I'm not even questioning being done until BA's gone if he is still on this team come tomorrow afternoon. Fire the cannons. Go Bucs. One more game. Let's wrap it up.
Good news, Zach. You don't have to pack away anything because he gone.
Well, officially he's not gone.
He gone.
So listen, but the reason I say that is because, like I said, I mean, they could suspend him indefinitely for conduct detrimental to the team. And technically, he's still a member of the Buccaneers at that point in time. And listen, not for nothing, people talk about Super Bowl rings, right? Antonio Brown has played enough games. I mean, all you have to do is play one to get a Super. Like O.J. Howard got a Super Bowl ring last year. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying, just get ready for it.
I get what you're saying. You're 100% correct. And
Yeah.
it does make sense from that aspect to just suspend him so that nobody else can get him. Then again, that's a PR nightmare if somebody does pick him up. But for all intents and purposes, whether he's suspended or released or cut or whatever, he is
will
no
not be
longer
wearing
an active member of this team.
You will not see him wearing a Buccaneers uniform again. I think that's pretty much been settled. As far as this team not being able to win the Super Bowl, playing the way that they did against the New York Jets, I actually had this conversation with Bo Brock from Locked On NFL. So if you want to hear the full entirety of that conversation, go to the Monday episode of Locked On NFL. I'm on there for about a 4 to 5 minute segment as Bo goes around the league. And I'll give you the shorter version. The shortest version is this. Not to make excuses, right? But look, no JPP, no Shaq. Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting are late arrivals. They're literally warming up for the game on the sideline. And then Sean Murphy-Bunting gets banged up again as he's trying to play the game. There's just a lot of things happening on the field for this defense, and you see them. They start off, they're obviously not on solid footing. They obviously don't have all the pieces put together. Anthony Nelson and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, potentially your starting pass rush defensive end group for like 3 to 5 more years, beside, Shaq Barrett, are literally playing meaningful reps together for the first time in their entire careers, things like that. And this is a defense that is predicated on getting pressure on the quarterback to make things easier on the back end. So you have a deficit at the pass rush point. You have a deficit in the secondary. It's just not going to work. Get into the game, and you see this defense get their feet under them a little bit. Their coaching kind of kicks in a little bit, and they settle down a little bit more. I understand it's not what everybody wanted going into the game against the New York Jets, but if you go back to the crossover I had with the host of Locked On Jets podcast, we talked about this. With all of the COVID stuff going on and all the wishy-washy and the CDC changing this, and maybe it's only 5 days, maybe it's only 2 days, maybe it's a month. It's really hard to know what to expect, and everybody's kind of adjusting to it. The good news is, and I say this every time we get a call like this, James, the Week 17 Tampa Bay Buccaneers will not be playing in the Super Bowl.
That's right.
Period. The February 16th, I think, Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be playing in the Super Bowl. I am not worried about whether or not the Week 17 Buccaneers can win the Super Bowl because they're not playing in it.
Yeah, and like you said, no Shaq, no JPP. They just get Antoine Winfield Jr. back. Richard Sherman, he's out. No Levante David. So you're right. Once they started to get their footing, they were all right. But you have to look at it, glass half full approach. They're missing all these guys. They have a distraction mid-game, and they still find a way to come back and get the job done. David, I'm so excited to talk about this game more on our Takeaway Tuesday episode when we can really dive in and not be distracted by distractions. Almost as excited as I am to tell of our listeners about an incredible app that everyone that buys gas needs to know about, and that is, of course, GetUpside. Our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free GetUpside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code TOUCHDOWN and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using GetUpside. Just download the app for free and use promo code TOUCHDOWN to get up to 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot are making as much as $200 to $300 a month in cash back. There's no catch. The cash back gets added right to your account, and you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Just download the free GetUpside app and use promo code TOUCHDOWN to get 50 cents a gallon cash back on your first tank. Promo code TOUCHDOWN. Wrapping things up here on a Victory Monday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. James Yarcho, David Harrison on Twitter at @JYarcho_Bucs, at DHarrison82. David, let's dive into one more voicemail before we hand out our game balls and talk about our plays of the game.
Hey guys, this is Earl calling out North Tampa. I tell you, what a game. I tell you, they won. Man, it shouldn't have been that hard. I give it to the defense. They came on strong second. It was just still rough. And Tom Brady being Tom Brady, that was awesome. He goes out there with no timeouts. Grayson does again. Grayson should play more. And as far as Antonio Brown, I'm sorry. Just cut your losses, Bucks. Cut your losses. Don't even take them back to the plane. Don't let them go plane. Just let them take the Greyhound bus home. This might be, I think, by Antonio Brown leaving, this kind of juvenilized the whole team. to come together and play better. And even Le'Veon Bell got some runs. He got that 2-point conversion. Great. Let's finish his season out, beat Carolina, and go into the playoffs. Go Bucs.
Earl, thank you very much for the call. It is much appreciated. David, let's go ahead and dive in real quick to our plays of the game. I'm going to get things started on this one, and we're going to go to just a little under 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Jets are marching. They're running the ball. They're trying to run out the clock. They don't want to give the ball back to the Bucs, and Tom Brady holding on to a 24-20 lead. Braxton Berrios, who just kind of came out of nowhere, he runs on a reverse and slips through all the defenders, tackled by the shoelaces by Antoine Winfield Jr. And if Antoine Winfield Jr. does not make that tackle, we are talking about a very sad game with the distractions and all of that, because the Bucs would have lost to the Jets. And Antoine Winfield Jr. saved a touchdown on that play, giving the Bucs an opportunity. I mean, they gave up some more first downs, but gave the Bucs an opportunity to sit and be able to complete that comeback victory. So my play of the game, Antoine Winfield Jr. tackling Braxton Berrios with 6:50 left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and about 6 minutes and 35 seconds later or so, my play of the game happened when Tom Brady, quarterback extraordinaire, hooked up with Cyril Grayson, who back-to-back games of 81 yards. That's
wild.
That's fitting.
Right?
33-yard touchdown to take the lead. And then, of course, Le'Veon Bell, as Earl mentioned, punched it in for the 2-point conversion to give them the 4-point lead, which they won by, which is what we all predicted. And real quick, Earl, you'll be happy to know, if you don't already, the Buccaneers didn't fly him back. In fact, he was actually photographed trying to get an Uber out of the stadium. But they're like, hey, guy, we're not going to let an Uber come back to where the players are. Cop actually ended up escorting him. I don't know where to be quite honest with you. For all I know, Antonio Brown is still somewhere in New Jersey as we speak. My player of the game, Cyril Grayson, the wide receiver. Obviously, I think he deserves it. 6 catches on 8 targets, 81 yards, and the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What an impact that kid has made over the last 2 weeks. My player of the game is the same guy who made my play of the game. Antoine Winfield Jr. returns to the team. He's missed the past couple weeks. Helps shore up the back end of that defense and was tied for the team lead in tackles with 8 on the day. Almost had a strip that ended up becoming a touchdown. Strong grip by that Walter kid who stepped in for Michael Carter, who got injured during the game. But Winfield Jr. that close to a forced fumble at the goal line, but he had a really, really good game. It's great to see him back, and I'm sure he won't hesitate to remember the Buccaneers, the Deuces. All right, David, let's go ahead and wrap things up with one more voicemail from a rather familiar voice that we hear quite often on this show. It's our buddy Matt from Morven, Georgia.
Fire the cannons, boys! What's up? This is Matt from Morven, Georgia here. Man, what a way to start out the new year. Well, that was one heck of a game. I tell you, you got to give Zach Wilson and the defense on that Jets. My gosh, they put up one heck of a fight. But I've said it before, and I'll say it 1,000 times. Thank God for Tom Brady, because without him, I don't know how that game would have went. I've been talking about play calling for a while now, and I still don't really like the play calling, but I'm starting to wonder how much of that is being affected by the lack of Chris Godwin out there and all the replacements that are having to go out there. I got mixed feelings about Antonio Brown walking off the field, because you never want to lose somebody of that skill and caliber of a player. But if he's causing problems, from my understanding, he was benched by Bruce Arians and then pitched that fit. So my game ball's got to go, though, to Tom Brady, of course, but Cyril Grayson also gets one, and Anthony Nelson came up big today. He gets my defensive one. But I got 3 guys here, Troy, Hank, and Nash, and they want to send out a message to all of Bucs Nation. All right. Go Bucs!
Matt, thank you very much for the call. And real quick, I mean, that was a lot of our understanding, that he was benched, and that's what led to the fit. Turns out it was a little flippity flop. It was the opposite. Bruce Arians wanted him back in the game, and that led to hissy fit and a temper tantrum, and my ankle hurts. So watch me jump up and down through the end zone as I make my departure, because that makes sense.
Well, we've all met people who get mad because they're expected to work at their job.
Yeah, I've encountered multiples of those people over the course of the past couple of weeks, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to wrap up this show. You and I are going to be back tomorrow on our Takeaway Tuesday episode.
I don't know that I will be.
You will be.
I think my ankle hurts.
Well,
make me do it.
It's a good thing you're sitting. Yeah. Also, we probably should have done the show shirtless. Nobody wants to see that.
Nobody.
Our YouTube numbers would plummet. Thank you to those that called in: Zach in Dallas, Earl in North Tampa, Matt and Morven, and look, Mo Mackin. We got your voicemail, but it cut out like really, really bad. It was real like digitized and weird. So we were only catching like every fourth word, but we did get it. We would have loved to have played it because, you know, we enjoy hearing from you. It's been a while. So try to call back. Give us your thoughts on this episode or anything else Buccaneers related moving forward. If you want to call in and make your voices heard, the phone number is 813-444-5841. You can check out everything David and I are doing over at bucksnation.com. Make sure you're following along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at @JYarcho_Bucs, at DHarrison82, and at Bucs_Nation. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, be good to one another. We thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucs.